Hello everyone, welcome to today's session of Easy Dharma for the New Normal. If you're joining us for the first time, these are sessions done once a week by myself, Pastor Niral, on a Tuesday, and Pastor David does a session on Wednesday nights as well. Both sessions are at 9:30 p.m., on the Kechara Facebook page. So before we begin, let me just refresh my screen to see who's joined us today. So today is actually the fifth session of six that I wanted to share with all of you. And these sessions have been on the practice of the six perfections. Now, if you know anything about Tibetan Buddhism especially, or even indeed just Mahayana Buddhism in general, the six perfections are stressed quite a lot. So let's just see who is online. I see David Chu is online. Good evening. And Mr. Lam as well. I see some other people online as well, but I can't see your names. Oh, Jacinta Go is online. Good evening. And Esther Go is also online. Good evening to everyone. Oh, Pastor Antoinette has joined as well. Okay, thank you everyone for joining. And I've seen Pastor Tapming's just come online as well. And Sukfan is here as well. So today what I'm going to be talking about is the fifth of the six perfections, and that is meditative concentration. It basically means having concentration. So concentration in the sense that you can meditate. Now, out of so far of the six perfections that we've covered, they're usually practiced in daily life. It is practiced off the meditation cushion. It's practiced when you're not doing your sadhana, when you're not engaged in formal meditations. The last two of the six perfections actually come into play into what is termed more formal practice. So it is when you actually sit down and take time away from your normal daily everyday life with your family, with your friends, working, and you actually spend time to actually develop meditational practices. That's number one. And number two is actually to use meditational practices to gain wisdom. And as we all know, wisdom is one of the two things that are considered the two wings to enlightenment. One is compassion and the other one is wisdom. So without either of the two, we don't achieve enlightenment. So, and as I'm talking, if anybody does have any questions, please do ask about meditation. Throughout today's session, I'm not going to go into the practice of meditation per se. What I'm going to cover is why meditation is necessary, which is number one. And number two, I'm going to cover some prerequisites for achieving meditative concentration. So within Buddhist practice, all types of meditation are actually broadly categorized into two types. One is called shamatha in Sanskrit, and the other is called vipassana. Okay, so these are the two types. Meditative concentration, as the fifth of the six perfections, actually refers to what is known as shamatha meditation. In Tibetan, it's known as Shinei meditation, and in English, it has many different names. If you're following the Lam Rim presentation of it, it is called mental quiescence. That is the term most used within English translations of Lam Rim literature. And other translations could be things like single-pointed concentration. Now, I think probably we've come across the translation of single-pointed concentration before. So this is what I'm going to be talking about today, because it is the fifth of the six perfections, meditative concentration. But one thing that we need to realize is that on the Buddhist path, I'm going to explain shamatha today. And next week, I'm going to give a very brief overview of Vipassana, especially on the wisdom angle of it. One thing to remember is that we need both of these types of meditation together in order to achieve any spiritual attainments, and ultimately to actually achieve enlightenment. We need both of these meditations together. So there is an analogy that's given in a lot of the Lamrim texts, and that is to imagine yourself in a room, and that room has no windows, and the door's closed so no light can get in. But on the wall is this magnificent, beautiful painting. And you will reach enlightenment if you see this painting. It is so beautiful and it's so magnificent, and it's on the wall. But obviously you're in the dark. There's no windows, there's no lights, so you can't actually see it. So what do you need to be able to see this painting? You need a light. So in the texts, this light is described as a butter lamp. So the flame from a butter lamp can illuminate the entire painting for you to see. But you don't only need the butter lamp. You also need the air in the room to be still. Because if there is a breeze, the butter lamp is going to flicker and it's going to go out. So meditation is described as two things. One is that it is the butter lamp to see things. And two, it is a calm wind in the room so the flame doesn't flicker. So these two things, the butter lamp and the calm wind, are analogous of the two types of meditation. So the meditation that actually allows you to see this painting, to see reality, is basically known as Vipassana. But you need your Vipassana meditation to be stable. You need to have concentration to be able to meditate using the Vipassana technique properly. And this is what shamatha meditation is. Shamatha meditation is basically making sure that there's no breeze in the room so the flame will not go out. Okay? So therefore we say, it's said within Buddhist practice that in order to develop Vipassana, or in other words, when you take Vipassana to its final conclusion, to understand emptiness, okay, and have wisdom, you need a very, very strong sense of concentration. And that is what shamatha is. But both are needed to achieve enlightenment. So I hope that has made a little bit of a distinction between the two types. And if anybody has any questions, please do ask. If it wasn't clear, I'll try to explain it in a different way. So concentration. Okay, we get on to the practice of concentration. Now, concentration, or shamatha, I'm going to term it shamatha, is actually a technique that is common throughout all Buddhist schools. Every Buddhist school, every Buddhist tradition, every Buddhist practice will have a form of shamatha in it. And this is to hone your concentration. Okay? What do you actually concentrate on? Okay? A lot of people ask this. When I'm sitting there meditating, what do I concentrate on? Now, there are a lot of different things that we can use to focus our concentration. And one of the one of the things that is used throughout all traditions again is focusing on the breath. So if you have been joining JP's morning meditation sessions, you are actually, it's termed as breathing meditation, and he's been using some other devices that you can use to help concentrate on things like sound as well. Basically, what you're doing here is you're engaging in single-pointed concentration. So you're using the breath, okay, or the sensation of breathing in and out to actually focus your attention. And when you focus your attention there on any device, but in this case, breathing, you actually find that you're able to kind of take a step back from your mind, and you can actually see your thought processes, and how one thought leads to another, leads to another, leads to another, leads to another. So this is basically the benefit of practicing single-pointed concentration, is that you use something to hone your mind to the point where it is no longer distracted by any other thoughts that you have in your head. So once you reach this point of being able to concentrate on something very, very well, you then switch over to engaging in vipassana meditation, which leads to wisdom. And what vipassana meditation does is it takes a particular topic or a particular situation you're going through in life, and you analyze this situation or this topic from multiple angles. When you analyze it from multiple angles, you're able to see a clearer, better picture of it. This actually applies for things like emotions, the way we feel in certain situations, but also can be used to analyze and meditate on things like impermanence, on karma, and ultimately the nature of reality, which leads to wisdom, and that ultimately will lead to enlightenment. So this is something that all Lam Rim texts actually cover, and is a central feature of any meditational practice. And all of Buddhism, actually, any practice in Buddhism is supposed to be something that you live by, and that you practice every single day. And this includes meditation. So let's see who else is online. I see Phoebe Yong's online. Good evening to you. Sharon Ong's also online. Muntang is here. Suzanne Thiao is online. Jerry Go, good evening. Kin Ho is here as well. Elsie Toy back, regular. Thank you for joining. And Kwan Ming and Grace is also online. Thank you for joining. Now, today's session it has been and will also be a little bit technical. So if you don't understand anything, ask a question and I will try to clarify it a little bit better. So, for this session, I'm not actually going to get into how to do it, because if you want to know how to do it, you can follow the sessions that JP has been doing with everyone during his morning meditation sessions. What I want to actually talk about is some of the prerequisites that you need to be able to achieve single-pointed concentration. And the reason why I want to talk about these prerequisites is because it ties together everything that I have been talking about from the beginning of these sessions on the six perfections. It also goes back even further to the understanding of karma and the Four Noble Truths, and in fact taking refuge. All of this actually comes together and amplifies your ability to actually engage in meditative concentration. to engage in meditation practice. So if you think that meditation is separate from actually knowing about things like the 10 non-virtues or knowing about refuge, this is actually a mistaken view, because when you have a firm grounding of all of the things that not just myself but Pastor David has also been sharing with you, this actually leads you to a very firmly grounded meditational practice, and it actually boosts your meditation practice. Now, when we talk about meditation, a lot of people get caught up in thinking that meditation is too hard. It's not gonna happen. I'm never going to achieve single-pointed concentration. But what all the masters of the past have said, especially within the Lamrim literature, is that if you have that basis, that knowledge, and that practice of the other perfections to ground you, when you actually do meditation, such as single-pointed concentration, it will only take you 6 months to achieve shamatha, which means that if you practice every day, it is guaranteed that you will achieve some form of shamatha within 6 months. But that is on the basis that you understand and practice things like the Four Noble Truths, that you practice abstaining from the 10 non-virtues, that you practice things like making offerings, that you practice and have an understanding of karma, and everything that I've been basically talking about. And all of this is basically enshrined in what is known as the prerequisites needed for meditative concentration. If you have these, there's 6 of them actually, the 6 things that you need, and if you have these and then you start your meditation practice, or even if you do them simultaneously, it will only take you 6 months to achieve meditative concentration. Okay? Okay, I have a question by Yo Miao Ki. Is it normal when during meditation I feel my body moved to left and right and also forwards and backwards, although I keep myself still? At times I heard water drops, but I'm alone at home and my tiny taps are all properly shut. All of this happening is normal or not? The water drops I heard is close to my ears. Now, at this point, when we're doing meditation, what we're actually dealing with is the mind. You're not actually dealing with supernatural forces. You're not moving your energies inside your body. Actually, okay, let me talk about your energies in your body first. When you practice single-pointed concentration, okay, whether you concentrate on the sensation of your breath going in and out, or if you're using sight, okay, if you're looking at something and you're concentrating on the thing you're looking at, or if you're using sound, you're hearing something like the gong of a singing bowl. Basically, you're meditating on something using the 5 senses. It's either sight, it's either smell, taste, touch, sound. These 5 things you can use as objects of single-pointed concentration meditation. When you focus on these things, what you're actually doing is you're actually calming the mind down. It's also known as calm abiding meditation. You calm your mind down. As you calm your mind down, the energies in your body start moving clearer. Okay? They start moving. If you have any blockages, they automatically start moving and clearing by themselves. This is just a natural spiritual function that occurs when you focus, when you do single-pointed concentration. So some people experience many sorts of different experiences. They hear things, they see things. These aren't actually anything to do with the winds actually moving, and they're not to do with supernatural things happening around you. This does not happen when you do single-pointed concentration. There is only good things that happen when you do single-pointed concentration, because you're calming your mind down and you're training it. So some people start to feel things in their body, like they might feel a tingling sensation, or they might feel some of their joints hurt or are in pain. This is actually natural. One of the reasons is because you're actually training your body to do something that you ordinarily don't do, which is to sit in the same position for a long period of time. But if you follow the actual meditation posture, your body will be okay. You won't actually get that many aches and pains. At the same time, some people do see certain things or hear certain things. What this actually is a process where your mind is becoming calmer. But you see, you haven't reached a point where you realize that there's thoughts going through your mind yet. So this manifests to your mind as hearing certain things or seeing certain things, like maybe you see like a mirage, like image, or you see something move out the corner of your eye, but there's nothing there. There is no supernatural element to this. It is literally just your mind. It's just that your mind is realizing that there's thoughts, that there's memories going through your mind, but you haven't reached the point of single-pointed concentration where you actually can see what these thoughts are. So it can manifest in different ways. So having various feelings, bodily sensations, hearing things, seeing things, are all signs that you are somehow progressing along the process of single-pointed concentration. That doesn't mean that every single person out there who practices single-pointed concentration will get these, okay? It's just something that does occur. So this is from the point of view where you don't have any pre-existing supernatural occurrences happening, or you don't have any, spirit disturbances or whatever. This is just purely from the point of view of meditation. Okay, I hope that answers your question. All right, so what I was talking about is the 6 prerequisites for engaging in meditative concentration. The first one basically is having a suitable environment in which to engage in your meditational practice. Now, usually speaking, when people wanted to engage in developing single-pointed concentration, they would actually go into a retreat. And this retreat would actually be done in a sacred place, in a holy place. So this holy place or sacred place itself would actually be a conducive place. It is a conducive place because if you see the way that sacred and holy places have been set up, is that they're places that are extremely blessed due to the various virtuous activities that have gone on there, such as pujas, such as prayers. They're places that usually have a lot of natural beauty. There are places that are free from certain dangers, for example, of being robbed, or a place that is dangerous in the sense that you'll be harmed physically. These are all the traditional aspects of what a conducive environment means for engaging in practice. And one of the best places that I think everybody who's watching this can actually think of is Kechara Forest Retreat. Now, it is a place where you can actually engage in meditation without worry, without fears. So, and it's a highly blessed place. It has been blessed by many pujas. It was the home of his eminent Samuel Rinpoche's, where he lived. The Kechara Forest Retreat is literally his mandala. And we've had many holy masters visit Kechara Forest Retreat and done prayers to bless the land, to bring a lot of positive energy here. So in that sense, it is a very conducive environment to practice. However, we are all in a situation in which a lot of us cannot actually come to Kechara Forest Retreat because of the coronavirus and the various restrictions put on traveling and visiting places by the Malaysian government in Malaysia, but also various governments around the world have also implemented the same thing. So even if you're in another country around the world, it's not going to be possible for you to go to a sacred place to or a conducive place for you to engage in meditation. However, that doesn't mean that these are the only conducive environments. You see, you can also create an conducive environment in your home. Now, the most conducive environment to actually do your meditation in your home would actually be in front of your altar. And there's a reason for this. When there is a representation of the body, speech, and mind of the Buddha, as well as offerings that are laid out and made every single day, this area itself pervades holy and sacred energy. So anything within that vicinity actually becomes a conducive environment. So when it comes to actually engaging in meditation, there's also other steps that you can take. One is making sure that you're not disturbed while you're doing meditation. These are more practical steps that you can take. It is, if you're timing your meditations, you should have a timer. You should turn your phone off or on silent mode so you don't get disturbed while you're doing it. Things like wearing comfortable clothing, okay, that isn't tight. Things like not eating too much just before you start your meditation session, because you will end up falling asleep. And also making sure you eat a little bit before you do your meditation session, because otherwise you're going to be hungry throughout your entire meditation session. So there are multiple levels on what it means to make a conducive environment. But always remember that you can make a conducive environment at home, in your house, to practice meditation, and it's something that we should actually all be doing. Some people actually say, that have read the Lam Rim, they say that meditative concentration is actually one of the last chapters of the Lam Rim. So they're not going to do any meditation because it's taught right at the end of the Lam Rim. The way that the Lam Rim is laid out, yes, it comes at the end of it. However, all Lam Rim texts, when you read that particular section, say that you should be practicing single-pointed concentration every single day. Okay? From the beginning of your practice. So that is the first prerequisite of making sure you have a conducive place. So see, we have some more people joined. Mahesh is also online. Ramesh is here, and Pastor Ming. Sorry? No, wait. I'm just going to have to refresh my screen because I think I've missed some questions and some comments. So, so making sure you have a conducive environment is very important when you actually start your, when you do your meditational practice. And my screen is still loading. Okay. There is a question by Nawang Lamo, who asks, what time is suitable for beginners? Now, some people actually say that it is for beginners. Some people say when you engage in meditational practice, you have to do it at certain times of the day. The reason why they say that, and why a lot of masters actually encourage people to do it at as at a certain time is actually because the masters actually want you to practice and get into a routine. And that routine is basically doing your meditational session every single day. Now, if you set a time to do it, or if a time frame is given to you, you're more likely to make that into a routine. You're more likely to say, yes, at maybe 8 a.m. every morning, I'm going to sit down and I'm going to do my meditational practice. Technically speaking, when it comes to single-pointed concentration, there is no perfect time to engage in meditation. You can actually do it any time of the day, and once you've trained yourself in it, you can actually do it anywhere. Okay? So there is no necessary set time for you to do it. Whether you're a beginner, whether you're an intermediate practitioner, or whether you're an advanced practitioner. But what is key here is to set a time where you know that, one, you are not going to be disturbed. You are less likely to be disturbed. Two, when you are not too tired, because throughout the day you are going to be living your daily life. You are going to be going around doing things of making sure, cooking, cleaning, going to work, taking care of your family, things like that. And thirdly, that it's a time that's convenient for you. So a lot of the masters have actually told people to meditate in the early morning. And the reason why you're told to meditate in the early morning, one, is because it's a criteria. It's a time that meets all of these criterias. So you're not going to be too tired. You're not going to be disturbed that much. And it is before you have to do all of your mundane things in life. So you're not going to get caught up in doing your everyday day-to-day life, which sometimes might even make you forget that you need to do, you haven't done your meditation for the day. That is why it is advised to do it in the morning. However, some people can actually meet these criteria later on in the day. I know a mother who has 3 young children, and as soon as she wakes up, she needs to take care of her children. She needs to cook their meals. She needs to get ready to send them to school. And then after school, when she picks them up, they get home. She needs to make sure that they do their homework. She needs to make sure that they're fed. She needs to do all of these things. So the best time for her to actually practice meditation in an everyday environment is actually around lunchtime, when she doesn't have that much mundane things she needs to do. She won't be disturbed that much, and is more conducive for her. So for her, it is around lunchtime. I know some other people who actually do meditation at the end of the day, because everything is finished. All their mundane tasks and everything is finished. But they have made it a habit, a routine, to make sure that they do it at least before they go to sleep. So you see here, the key is actually to making a routine, to make sure you do it every single day. Because the key with achieving single-pointed concentration is that you need to practice it every single day until you get it. Okay? I hope that makes sense. So there is no perfect timing. It depends on you. It depends on your schedule and what time that you can meet those criteria. Okay? Pastor Tat Ming has a comment. We are constantly doing concentration meditation when we go about our daily activities. We concentrate on our attachments, aversions, and indifferences instead of on virtuous objects such as compassion, kindness, love, impermanence, and so on. We must be mindful and aware of our thoughts and not be distracted. In this way, we develop the concentration correctly. Vipassana works hand in hand with concentration practice and should be practiced together. It's a very good quote by Pastor Tat Ming. I'm going to elaborate on it a little bit more. Actually, within Buddhist practice, we say you achieve single-pointed concentration. when you have done enough meditation or practice, the way it's phrased is not 100% correct. You don't achieve single points of concentration. Actually, you have it already. But what we spend most of our time concentrated on, as Pastor Tap Ming has explained, is on our attachments, is on things like daily life. It is, if we have a career, it is getting to the top of our career ladder, is making sure we have enough money. It is doing all these mundane things. When you actually engage in single-pointed concentration, what you're doing is actually you're blocking all of that out. You're blocking all of that out, and you're concentrating on one single object that doesn't have any connotations of all of these attachments, of all of these things and needs and wants, such as focusing on the breath. When you focus on the breath, it is not about getting a million ringgit or $1 million. It's not about getting the new car. It's not about looking good so in front of your friends or your family. It's just something that you do free of. It is a physical movement that is free of these various concepts, of these various other thoughts that come in. So it helps you to concentrate on, helps you to hone your concentration, basically. As I was explaining earlier, this coupled with vipassana will actually lead you to more awareness, to more wisdom, that will lead you ultimately to enlightenment. There's also a question by Mr. Lam. Pastor, do we do our sadhana first and then meditation, or meditate first and then do our sadhana? Okay. Here is, there's twofold, okay? I'm going to explain it two ways. Sorry, I just need a drink. Okay. So, okay. When you sit down and do your daily sadhana, it is not 100% necessary to do breathing meditation. If you're doing your sadhana correctly. The reason being is because single-pointed concentration is actually included within your sadhana. Usually when we do concentration meditation, we're focusing on the breath. But within your sadhana, there is two things that you can use instead of your breath. The first is your visualization of the deity. And you visualize that strongly using your mind's eye. You visualize the deity and the various visualizations that go along with that. And you use the visualization as your device that you concentrate on. So your device within normal meditation that we usually talk about is breathing. That's your device. Let's call it a device. Now the device in your sadhana is visualization of the deity, number one. The other device that you can use is the mantra. When you engage in mantra recitation, okay, so for example, say you're doing the Guru Yoga of Lama Tsongkhapa. Then you get to the Migtsama section of the sadhana and you start reciting the Migtsama mantra. When you're reciting the Migtsama mantra, that itself you use as your device of concentration. Now, here is a little bit of advice when it comes to mantra recitation. When we do our daily sadhana, I used to do this a lot, and I've noticed quite a few people do this, not just in sadhanas, but also in pujas. When it comes to the mantra recitation of it, they recite the mantra so fast that all the syllables blur together. Okay? But actually, when you recite mantras, you should be reciting at a speed where each syllable of the mantra is clear, okay? And you actually recite out aloud. But the level that you recite out aloud is so that you yourself can hear it. So it doesn't, if there's somebody sitting next to you, it doesn't disturb the other person, but it should be loud enough that you can hear the syllables. So what you do when you do your daily sadhana is you listen to the sound of each syllable of the mantra, and you focus your concentration on the sound of the mantra. Okay? Here you are actually doing two things in one when you're concentrating on the mantra. One is you're engaging in single-pointed concentration meditation because you're concentrating on the sound of the mantra. Two, because you are enunciating the mantra properly, the mantra itself is the form of an enlightened being in sound. It is the sound form of an enlightened being. So you're actually generating merit at the same time. So you're doing two things. One, you're generating merit. Two, you're actually doing single-pointed concentration meditation. Okay? So that is one way to explain it. Now I'm going to explain it, and this explanation will come more from the Lamrim angle. Okay? Yes, the Lamrim also says use visualization and mantra recitation as your devices for doing concentration meditation during your sadhana. But before your sadhana begins, before you do it, you should engage in 1 or 2 minutes of breathing meditation. And there is a reason. When you engage in something virtuous, you should have either a neutral or a virtuous mind to begin with. Because when you do something virtuous, it generates merit. So if your mind and your thinking is neutral or virtuous, when you start doing this thing, it increases the amount of merit that you can generate. When we sit down, usually when we do our sadhana, our minds are still racing. If we do it in the early morning, it's racing with things like, oh my God, I need to do my sadhana quickly because I need to go to work, because I need to eat, I haven't eaten, things like that. If you're doing it at the end of the day, it's, oh my God, I'm so tired, let me just rush through my sadhana so I can get it over and done with, and then I can just relax. So technically speaking, when you sit down, your mind has non-virtuous thoughts. What happens when you do breathing meditation or any form of single-pointed concentration, just for a couple of minutes, and you calm your mind down, your mind becomes neutral. When it becomes neutral, it is easier for you to generate a positive mindset when you take refuge at the beginning of your sadhana. Okay, to remember good qualities. For example, in the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, until enlightened, I seek refuge. Through giving and other perfections to aid all, may I become a Buddha. That's the taking refuge first, coupled with bodhicitta. So when you recite those things, you remember, okay, I'm taking refuge in the Buddha and Dharma and Sangha for the benefit of all sentient beings, by practicing generosity and other perfections. So here you remember the 6 perfections, okay? And your mind now becomes virtuous. And then when you engage in the rest of your sadhana, which is based upon on a deity, it generates even more merit. So it makes your sadhana even more successful. So the 2 ways I've explained it, when you do your daily sadhana, you can do breathing meditation at 2 points. I mean single-pointed concentration at 2 points. One before to increase the merit-generating potential of your sadhana, and when you're doing your sadhana, to actually make it more effective by visualizing and your mantra recitation. Okay? Hope that makes sense. Okay. So back to the prerequisites. So the first one I've gone over, which is dwelling, making sure you do meditation in a conducive environment, making sure your environment is conducive, okay? The second prerequisite is having few wants. Basically, this means that you try to lessen your attachment to things. You try to lessen your attachment to good clothing, fine food, things like that, okay? This is usually a general practice within Buddhism, and it's something that Pastor David talked a lot about when he did his session on attachment Okay, and if you haven't seen it, it's a very good session. You can look back on the various sessions we did and find Pastor David's talk on attachment. The third prerequisite is being content. Okay, so it basically means being okay with what you have. So some people think that, they have to have the perfect meditation cushion. It has to be perfect. It has to be extremely comfortable. It needs to be the right size. It needs to be the right color. It needs to be, all of these things. But most of us, maybe you can't afford it. Maybe you can't get hold of it. But you do have a meditation cushion. Maybe it's old. Maybe it's worn out. But it still functions. So you're content with what you have. Okay? So you're content also with things like the food that you eat. You're content with the clothes that you have. You don't crave after or aren't attached to fine things that you think are going to improve your meditational session or improve your Dharma practice if you have it. You don't need a gold covered cushion for your meditation to be, for you to develop meditation. Okay, it's something that you do. It depends on you, not things that you have. Now, the next prerequisite, which I think is the fourth, is an extremely important one, and this is having pure ethics. Now, a lot of people ask, what does this have to do with developing meditation? What does keeping the refuge vows have to do with having strong meditative concentration? If you remember back to the session that I gave on refuge and karma, when you keep your refuge vows, you refrain from 10 non-virtuous actions. And when you refrain from these 10 non-virtuous actions, you stop yourself from generating negative karma. What negative karma does is it keeps you bound within samsara. Okay? It keeps you bound within cyclic existence. However, what you're doing when you actually practice meditative concentration is that you're developing a skill, a technique that can actually lead you out of samsara altogether when coupled with vipassana meditation. In this case, when you have a lot of negative karma, when you have a lot of things like attachment, a lot of things like wants, and you have things like a lot of anger, things like that, these actually hinder your practice of single-pointed concentration because they always come in your way. So one of the ways to develop single-pointed concentration quickly is to lessen your negative karma as quickly as possible and to bolster your spiritual merit. And this is obviously done by refraining from doing bad things, which is what having ethics is all about. And it is about generating merit to make sure you do virtuous actions. You're making your offerings on your altar every single day, or you're engaging in your sadhana every single day. So this actually covers one of the dana sila. It covers the second of the 6 perfections, which was discipline, morality, ethics. Okay? Living by the rule to do things that are positive and that lead to positive things, and stopping yourself from doing things that are negative and will lead to negative outcomes, karmically speaking. Talking about this, I just want to share a little story. Sorry, I need another drink. this technique of meditative concentration that I'm talking about, and also which is prevalent in all schools of Tibetan Buddhism, came from a particular master called Kamalashila. And this master wrote 3 texts known as Bhavana Krama. It literally means stages of meditation, called Gomrim in Tibetan. So when you get to this section of the any Lamrim text, it is actually based on the text by Kamalashila. Now, Kamalashila was known for 2 things. Okay, he was known for his text on explaining how to achieve various forms of meditation, but he was also known for one other thing, and that was his teachings on discipline, on the 10 non-virtues, and avoiding them. In fact, it is actually a part of his name. Okay? Kamala Shila is made up of 2 words, Kamal and Shila. So Shila is discipline, and Kamal is lotus. So it is said that he held his discipline so well that he became as beautiful as a lotus. Okay, so he had ethics. And it is because he had such pure ethics and focused on ethics so much that he had such a penetrative insight into meditation and could explain it well. So he was known for these 2 things. And without either one, without discipline, he would not have been able to have such a mastery over meditation. So it actually, his name speaks volumes on how important it is to have discipline and ethics in the practice of meditation. Okay, that was a very big sidetrack. Now there's 2 more prerequisites. The first is known as abandoning the demands of society. Traditionally speaking, this means that you would, for a certain amount of time, period of a couple of months, you would basically retreat away from daily life and engage in meditational practice wholeheartedly, and you would focus only on that for a couple of months. In other cases, it would mean that people would become monks or nuns or even lay practitioners and would retreat into the jungle or into the forest or into the monasteries to actually engage in this meditation. So when people think about this particular prerequisite, they think that they're not going to do that because I have a family, I have a life, I need to make a living. So I'm just going to ignore this prerequisite completely. I'm not going to think about it. I don't want to do it. In this case, people haven't actually thought about the actual meaning of it. Even if you practice breathing meditation for 5 minutes every single day, for those 5 minutes, you need to get rid of the demands of society. And what does that mean? Everybody has a mobile phone. Okay? Everybody has a mobile phone. And most of the time, we forget to put it on silent or to turn it off before we do our meditation, or before we sit down to our sadhana every single day. So what happens? You're doing your breathing meditation, or if you're doing your sadhana, you're doing your mantra recitation, beep beep, a message comes in. The message comes in and you kind of look at your phone and you're wondering, I wonder who messaged me. Who's messaging me now? Is it important? Is it my boss? Is it my friend giving me some really good gossip? or maybe it's my partner. And then you lose your concentration. Even if you try to go back to your meditation, it's hard because you've got these thoughts now running through your head. I wonder what the message was. Okay, that is one. This is called the demand of society. One. Two, a demand of society would also be making sure that your family is taken care of. The mother I was talking about earlier, she would think, maybe have I done the shopping for dinner? When the kids get back, they're going to be hungry. Do I have enough food to make dinner? Do I have all the ingredients and everything? These are all demands of society. So how do we, in our everyday life, get around this and actually make sure that we do abandon the demands of society? It is making sure that you have done enough in your daily life to make sure that you aren't disturbed within those 5, 10, 15 minutes, half an hour, however long you take. Okay? So for me, would be making sure the phone is on silent or making sure it's turned off. For the mother, it would be making sure that she's done all the shopping for dinner tonight so that she can sit down and engage in meditation without having to worry about any of that. So that is a demand of society. The sixth prerequisite is a bit harder to do, and actually takes a bit of general practice with it in day-to-day life, and that is to abandon thoughts such as anger and desire, craving, jealousy, all of the emotions that we've talked about previously. That Pastor David has done a lot on attachment and anger, actually. These are things that we need to. You won't be able to get rid of them completely, but you will try to have at least brought them down a couple of levels, of have them under some form of control. And we've also talked about the antidotes, so the things that you can do to counter those kind of thoughts. All right. So, for example, one of those antidotes would be to meditate on, if you're extremely angry at somebody, your friend or your family member, one of the things that you can do is you can contemplate on impermanence, the realization that you're not always going to be around, the other person is not always going to be around. What's more important, this one small argument that you had that's made you so angry, or the fact that you actually care about the other person and you actually want to have a good relationship with the other person before it's too late. So when you meditate on things and contemplate on things like impermanence, automatically your anger will reduce in that manner. So in essence, the sixth prerequisite is basically to understand and to know the various antidotes or the various ways of combating things like anger or things like jealousy. Because if you have too much of these negative emotions, they will impact your ability to engage in single-pointed concentration. So I've actually finished talking about the prerequisites. Again, I hope I have, throughout this session, I hope I've kind of given you a more like a general overview of what concentration meditation is, and that it is a technique to hone you being able to concentrate on something, whatever it is. It can be breathing, it could be an image, it can be a sound. This is actually important because you will need that to develop wisdom, which comes from Vipassana, which is something that I'll be covering next week. If you have any questions, general questions about meditation or anything, please do ask them now, because I am at the end of what I wanted to share with you all. And so I've shared with you the prerequisites of what is needed to engage in meditation, of concentration meditation. If you want to know how to do it, and I'm sure actually quite a few of you have been doing it, please join JP on his morning meditation sessions, where he actually takes you through how to do simple concentration meditations. Some of you who have already read the Lam Rim, or who have been through the Lam Rim sessions at Kechara House, will know that the Lam Rim actually gives a more thorough explanation of concentration meditation. And what I've done is I've actually shared the beginning sections of it here with you all. Hopefully you can work your way up to actually having a regular meditation session every day. And I hope I've actually kind of shared with you how everything that we have been talking about previously in these sessions actually is needed and necessary to have a firm grounding in meditation. Okay? I don't see any other comments. Is there anything else? No comments. Okay. I'm just reloading my screen to see if there are any further questions or comments. And I don't think... Oh, actually, I've seen a comment. Sorry, just bear with me. I'm just refreshing my screen. There's a comment by Pastor Tat Ming. In reply to Mr. Lam, which is basically a Pastor Tat Ming is just explaining a bit more how taking the Guru Yoga of Lama Tsongkhapa, each part of it can actually help with meditation in some way. So each part of it is a form of concentration meditation, which is very good. Okay. I see Elsie has posted hi. Elsie, do you have a question? Okay, just in case Elsie has a question, I will talk a little bit more about meditation. Yes. Okay, Elsie does have a question. In yoga, we have a cyclic meditation which has yoga poses. Is it also considered as meditation? Okay. Elsie, do you know the name of the cyclic meditation that you mean? If you know the name of it, can you just post the name? Because I will probably know it. So I'll be able to give you a more clearer definition or answer to your question. Okay, generally speaking, there are, as we know, Buddhism comes from India, and especially when you're following the tantric side of it, there are various things known as yogas, okay? Yoga literally means exercise, okay? Now, there are two types of yoga. One is a physical type of yoga, which I think everybody out there will know. It's the thing that you do at the gym. A lot of New Age practitioners practice yoga to keep their bodies healthy and fit. And there is also another type of yoga that is known as internal yoga. So an internal yoga would be various movements of the winds and within the psychic channels, and that actually has to do more with tantric practice. Okay, but one element that actually, if you're looking at both of these, whether it's physical yoga, real physical yoga, I mean traditional physical yoga, and internal yoga is meditation. So meditation is actually a theme or a practice that actually pervades both of these: outer yoga, the physical movements, and inner yoga, which is more to do with tantric practice. Both of these do involve forms of meditation. Okay, there are within yogic outer yoga practices where you do certain meditations, and these usually involve the breath. Okay, if you're going towards the more esoteric side of that, which will actually fall under the practices of Hindu meditation, there are forms of Hindu meditation that can be used in conjunction with physical yoga, but that is different from Buddhist meditation. Now, actually, from the point of view of single-pointed concentration, purely single-pointed concentration, I'm not talking about visualization of the deity, and I'm not talking about vipassana meditation. I'm talking about purely single-pointed concentration. Both Buddhist meditation and Hindu meditation are exactly the same. Okay? They're exactly the same when it comes to single-pointed concentration. The difference between Hindu meditation and Buddhist meditation is that Buddhist meditation has an extra step. And that extra step is wisdom. That extra step is actually vipassana meditation. Vipassana meditation does not exist within Hindu meditation, okay? Or general Indian meditation, non-Buddhist Indian meditation, okay? The extra step is vipassana. So this is the defining feature between Buddhist meditation and non-Buddhist meditation. This is actually the vipassana side of it. Okay, so I don't know if that's answered your question or not, but yes, some yogas do have forms of meditation, and it's usually breathing meditation, which is obviously a form of single-pointed concentration. Okay, it's called pranayam or pranayama. Okay, right? It's breathing meditation. It's single-pointed concentration. That's what it is basically. So I hope that has answered your questions. Okay, there are. Elsie's has said there are nada nushanhana as well as on meditation. Okay, nada. Okay, the word you have posted, it has to do. Okay, Elsie, you message me. Okay, and I will. Yeah, just send me a message and I'll explain more about that. Okay. So thank you everyone for joining. That's the end of the question so far. So that's the end of my session on single-pointed concentration, which is the fifth of the six perfections. So next week, I will be talking more, very, very briefly, on wisdom and on vipassana. So thank you very much for joining. I hope you've all learned a little bit more today through today's session. Don't forget, Pastor David is on tomorrow night at 9:30 p.m. Okay? Thank you very much for joining. Thank you. Good night.